Good evening, it's Tuesday, the 24th of June, and here's what's making news around the world on World News Tonight. Ceasefire pact. Trump brokers fragile Iran-Israel ceasefire as regional tensions surge, and global leaders brace for further escalation. Alliance talks, opening day of pivotal NATO summit in The Hague focuses on defense spending, US relations, and growing geopolitical threats. Hero tribute. 100-year-old World War II veteran throws ceremonial first speech, honored at ballpark for lifetime service and unbreakable American spirit.
From Colombo, this is World News Tonight with Prashansa Gunawardana.
Good evening once again. President Donald Trump announced a ceasefire deal between Israel and Iran after Iran's retaliatory strikes on Al Udeid air base. Sirens blared in Haifa, but regional tensions continue escalating, with uncertainty looming over future conflict developments.
After 12 days of uncertainty in the Middle East, which has fueled fears of a widening conflict, tonight Donald Trump has posted that Israel and Iran have agreed to a ceasefire. It was just hours ago that Iran struck back. Just 48 hours after the United States launched a barrage of bunker-busting bombs at several Iranian nuclear facilities. This is what retaliation looks like. The largest US base in the region targeted with what appears to be 14 short and medium-range missiles. President Trump tonight called it very weak, but he even thanked Iran in a post online for giving the US early notice, which made it possible for no lives to be lost and nobody to be injured. Watch as they're intercepted by American and Qatari forces above Doha. According to US officials, some of those missiles were headed for Al Udeid Air Base. The Pentagon says 13 of the 14 were intercepted with no damage or casualties. Al Udeid is home to the headquarters of Central Command and Air Force Central Command, and it's likely where that US raid on Iranian nuclear facilities would have been coordinated. Trump was there just over a month ago. The president urged peace after greenlighting that stunning operation dubbed Midnight Hammer. New video shows about 9 B-2 bombers taking off from Missouri early Saturday morning. 2 were decoys, the other 7 flying quietly to Iran. A senior US defense official tells the administration believes Iran's attacks will be, quote, regional. Iran called today's attack the Annunciation of Victory. The Revolutionary Guard claims to have fired the same number of missiles that the US used in their weekend strike, their supreme leader vowing Iran will not surrender. The US has been making adjustments to protect the more than 40,000 US troops spread from Iraq, Bahrain, Qatar and Syria. In the hours before, a shelter-in-place order went out at the US Embassy in Qatar. And mitigation plans have been in the works for some time. These satellite images show more than 24 US military aircraft had left Al Udeid Air Base. This photo was taken on June 10th and shows more than 30 military planes. 8 days later, a nearly empty base with only 3 planes still visible.
Singapore's Prime Minister Lawrence Wong met Chinese President Xi Jinping in Beijing today, marking Wong's first official visit to China since taking office in May. The visit commemorates the 35th anniversary of Singapore-China diplomatic relations.
During their meeting at Beijing's Great Hall of the People, President Xi Jinping congratulated Prime Minister Lawrence Wong on his appointment and emphasized the long-standing, stable and healthy development of bilateral relations between China and Singapore. The two leaders discussed ways to deepen cooperation across various sectors, including trade, technology, and cultural exchanges, building upon the solid foundation established over the past 35 years. Prime Minister Wong highlighted the importance of the Singapore-China relationship, noting that it serves as a model of mutual respect and pragmatic cooperation. He expressed Singapore's commitment to strengthening ties with China, particularly in areas such as digital economy, clean energy, and regional connectivity. Wong also emphasized the need for both nations to work together to address global challenges, including economic uncertainties and geopolitical tensions. The visit underscores the significance of Sino-Singaporean relations, with both leaders reaffirming their dedication to a forward-looking partnership. In addition to meetings with President Xi, Prime Minister Wong is scheduled to engage with Premier Lee Kuan and Chairman of the National People's Congress, Zhao Leiji, to further discuss collaborative initiatives and regional developments.
China's top diplomat Wang Yi met India's National Security Advisor Ajit Doval in Beijing yesterday, reaffirming commitments to peace, cooperation and the important bilateral consensus from last year's Kazan summit. Both stressed development and strategic alignment as priorities.
Wang Yi, China's foreign affairs chief, highlighted the 2024 Kazan summit consensus where both nations agreed to treat each other as partners, fostering development rather than rivals. He emphasized adherence to principles of good neighborliness, friendship and peaceful border management, aiming to maintain stability along the sensitive boundary areas that have historically been contentious. Wang urged both sides to handle sensitive issues cautiously while upholding the regional tranquility and mutual respect. India's National Security Advisor Ajit Doval echoed these sentiments, affirming that the strategic goals of India and China are well aligned with a shared focus on national development. Doval expressed India's readiness to enhance coordination in multilateral forums, underscoring support for China's current chairmanship of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. He also noted that both Asian powers have a critical role to play in global governance and regional security. This high-level dialogue marks a continued effort to manage complex bilateral relations amidst ongoing geopolitical challenges. The meeting reinforces a mutual commitment to peaceful coexistence, economic collaboration, and collective regional stability. Analysts see the engagement as a positive step in reducing border tensions while fostering cooperation in trade, security, and diplomatic arenas. Both sides are expected to continue dialogue through various channels to ensure sustained progress.
Police in Sydney are investigating whether 4 overnight blazes across Mount Druitt, Doonside, Minchinbury and the Central Coast are linked to arson attacks or random incidents. While the cluster has raised alarm, no firm evidence yet connects the fires.
A Mazda SUV steers into a Preston's driveway. 2 hooded figures emerge. One pours petrol, trailing onto Braidwood Drive before setting it alight. Inside the home is a family of 5.
Who are these people who do that? Was it an attack on us, or was it just some lunacy?
3 hours earlier in the nearby suburb of West Hoxton, 2 figures seen here running down Piper Street around midnight after deliberately setting fire to parked cars. And no rest for fire crews. A call at 2 a.m. to a Westmead barbershop after it was firebombed. The parlour gutted. Also around 2 this morning, another arson attack, this time on a Marylands gym. 100 people and pets in the above unit block evacuated. The Fitness Hub member escaped wet from the fire sprinklers but not injured. He can be seen here working out as another person runs away and the gym fills with smoke. Today, the privately owned business was out of action. Forensics moving in, the same gym also targeted last September.
Let's go in for a short commercial break. More world news coming right after this. Welcome back. In Brussels yesterday, Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney joined EU leaders Ursula von der Leyen and Antonio Costa to unveil the bloc's first ever security and defense pact with the country in the Americas. The safe deal deepens crisis, cyber and Ukraine support capabilities.
The agreement, which is the first of its kind for the EU with a country from the Americas, aims to deepen collaboration in areas such as crisis management, cybersecurity, arms control, and support for Ukraine. A key component of the pact is Canada's potential participation in the EU's $172 billion joint procurement program, SAFE, facilitating joint defense acquisitions and industrial cooperation. The Canadian Prime Minister emphasized that the partnership would enable Canada to deliver on new capabilities more rapidly and more effectively. This reflects a strategic shift to diversify defense partnerships beyond traditional reliance on the United States. The summit also led to negotiations for a digital agreement to align standards on issues, including consumer protection, to make online platforms safer and more inclusive.
Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky met UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer in London yesterday, unveiling an industrial defence co-production pact. and following his visit to King Charles at Windsor. The landmark initiative strengthens Ukraine's military architecture amid renewed Russian attacks and ahead of the NATO summit.
Zelensky met with Starmer in London on Monday after he visited King Charles III at Windsor Castle and unveiled a new industrial military co-production initiative aimed at enhancing Ukraine's defense infrastructure. The UK Prime Minister emphasized the significance of the collaboration, which he said builds on their 100-year partnership and represents a substantial advancement in the UK's support for Ukraine. Zelensky said it was a historic moment, highlighting that the partnership would strengthen both nations and expressed gratitude for the UK's continued assistance. The announcement follows a recent escalation in hostilities, with Russia launching a massive aerial attack on Kyiv involving drones and missiles, and comes a day before a NATO summit in The Hague.
World leaders, including President Donald Trump, arrived today for his first NATO summit since re-election amid heightened tensions after US strikes on Iran's nuclear sites. European allies aim to reassure him while concerns rise over the Middle East conflict spillover.
Trump's NATO visit is marked by underlying tensions stemming from his past criticisms of alliance members freeloading on US security. European leaders have pledged significant defense spending increases to address his concerns and demonstrate shared responsibility. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte crafted the summit agenda to focus narrowly on financial commitments, hoping to sidestep contentious geopolitical debates and avoid public clashes with Trump. However, escalating conflicts in the Middle East, particularly following US airstrikes on Iranian nuclear facilities, threaten to overshadow these planned discussions. Iran's retaliatory missile attack on US bases in Qatar and Iraq have intensified global uncertainty. These developments place additional pressure on Trump's administration and complicate the summit's diplomatic dynamics. Some officials speculate Trump may choose to remain in Washington's Situation Room to manage the crisis, raising questions about his attendance and engagement at the NATO meeting. European allies who have favored diplomatic solutions over military action face the challenge of balancing support for the US with concerns over regional destabilization. The summit unfolds against a backdrop of strained transatlantic relations, exasperated by trade disputes and political disagreements. While NATO members seek unity and enhanced defense cooperation, the possibility of discord looms large amid differing perspectives on Middle East policy and US military commitments. The outcome of this summit could significantly impact NATO's cohesion and the West's strategic posture as Russia and China observe closely, potentially exploiting any signs of alliance fragility.
El Salvador's Navy and police seized 6.3 metric tons of cocaine, valued at approximately $157 million, during high seas operations from June 2nd to 10th, capturing 17 suspects of 4 nationalities. Defense Minister Merino linked the efforts to the nation's aggressive gang crackdown.
Between June 2nd and the 10th, Salvadorian authorities intercepted 5 vessels nearly 1,000 nautical miles off the Pacific coast, uncovering 6.3 tons of cocaine valued around $157 million. The operation led to the arrest of 17 suspected traffickers of Guatemalan, Mexican, Colombian, and Ecuadorian origin, who face charges under strict anti-trafficking laws. Officials described the seizures as one of the nation's largest maritime drug busts, highlighting both the scale and significance of groups operating far offshore. Defense Minister René Francis Merino emphasized the operation's importance, linking it to El Salvador's celebrated domestic gang fighting strategy. Since March 2022, the country has operated under a state of emergency targeting criminal gangs and has now extended a similar approach to maritime routes. Analysts note that the maritime corridors in the Pacific, often used by drug networks to transit South American cocaine to North America, have increasingly come under scrutiny in Salvadorian-led operations enabled by US intelligence and maritime partnerships. These successful busts form part of a sustained campaign. In 2024 alone, El Salvador seized 22.6 tons of cocaine, an increase of over 600% from 2023 through combined sea and land interdicts. A substantial share of these seizures occurred in international waters using the Navy's Trident task force, demonstrating regional collaboration, including backing from the US Embassy and Southern Command assets. Authorities credit this with reinforcing hemisphere security, although experts caution that traffickers are constantly adapting routes.
Colombia's army and police rescued 57 soldiers yesterday after they were detained for 2 days near El Platito, Coca. The troops were held by civilians under pressure from FARC dissidents, highlighting ongoing security challenges in the country's southwest.
The rescue operation was carried out jointly by Colombia's 3rd Army Division and the National Police following intelligence reports and community negotiations. All 57 soldiers were freed unharmed and several suspects included in the incident were taken into custody. Authorities confirmed that the soldiers have been surrounded by civilians acting under duress from guerrilla factions. Despite no shots being fired, the incident has drawn widespread concern due to the scale and coordination of the detention. Officials emphasized that the soldiers were deployed as part of a state security mission and were not engaged in active combat at the time of their detainment. El Partido in the troubled Cauca province has long been a flashpoint for armed conflict, and the recent detention is part of a broader struggle for controlling the area. Since October 2024, the Colombian government has intensified military operations to oust armed groups, particularly dissidents from the FARC's Carlos Patino faction. These groups continue to resist demobilization, reject the 2016 peace deal, and finance operations through cocaine trafficking. According to the Colombian military, the region is also witnessing increased recruitments of minors, extortion of civilians, and efforts to form parallel government structures directly challenging state authority. President Gustavo Petro's administration has vowed to restore full government control in regions like Cauca, but the episode underscores the fragility of peace in Colombia's post-conflict zones. While peace negotiations continue with various armed actors, the presence of well-armed dissident groups poses a serious obstacle. Successful rescue was praised as a tactical win, but analysts warn that such incidents could increase if structural issues like poverty, drug economy dependence, and community intimidation are not addressed. Authorities say further arrests are expected as investigations continue into how the detainment was orchestrated and whether other units are at risk.
Time for a short break now. We'll be right back. Welcome back. At Plainview Old Bethpage JFK High School, Assistant Principal Timothy Lamb quipped something in the water as 30 fraternal twins, 15 sets, prepare to graduate among the class of 447 in Hempstead, New York. Many have been classmates since kindergarten and shared their experiences.
Or at least there was 18 years ago. How else can one explain that a high school's graduating class will include 15 sets of twins? Plainview Old Bethpage John F. Kennedy High School in New York will see 445 students off at graduation. These students are all fraternal twins, but they say they still face twin problems. While the school is getting a lot of attention for its unique makeup of graduates, these twins say it's all pretty normal to them. Some of the twins will be going to different colleges, making it the first time they'll be navigating life on their own.
World War II Navy veteran Bernard Miller turning 100 threw the ceremonial first pitch at a Milwaukee Brewers game as an early birthday salute. A hometown hero and former bank CEO, Miller's milestone moment moved fans nationwide.
Welcome to the mound, World War II veteran Bernie Miller.
In Milwaukee, the crowd went wild. That's Bernie Miller, a World War II veteran, throwing the first pitch at this Milwaukee Brewers game to celebrate his 100th birthday.
Thank you, Bernie. Great job.
He was nominated by his granddaughter, and on the mound, he kept them guessing.
I had all kinds of people in the stands high-fiving me and clapping for me.
And with that, we come to the end of today's edition of World News Tonight. With the hopes of seeing you again, I'm Prashansa Gunawardana. And we leave you tonight with the visuals of Ukrainians celebrating Solstice Night with the ancient traditions. Also, don't forget to send us your feedback through email at feedback.ad24english@dedan.lk or via WhatsApp at 07680579333. Anuradhi Vikramsinghe will be joining you next with the nightly business report. Thank you for watching and have a good night.